Honestly, loads of the things that I've written down on my manifestation list have been happening just constantly. This is why when we say to you, write things down, because I used to have this awful habit of when something would manifest, I would literally be like, oh, that's just a coincidence. Even though I knew this was like ages ago before I really, applied it properly. And I was like, oh, no, that's just a coincidence. But now I write these things down and then I look back at them and I'm like, well, that's definitely not a coincidence, because I definitely wrote that down, because I would literally convince myself that I was crazy and that I didn't think of the thing or say the thing or have my thoughts focused on that thing. But honestly, the thing the other day with the free perfume and the free Tic Tacs and, writing down that I got given something for free, then it happens twice in a row. And then what happened today? Oh yeah, I was ordering a chicken fajita. And I guess this isn't really like getting something for, it sort of is. But he started making a burrito with rice in it. And he was like, oh, you wanted a fajita? And I was just like, yeah. He was like, do you like rice though? And I was like, yeah. He was like, can I leave it in here? I was like, yeah, that's fine. But just before he done that, I was looking at the rice thinking, I don't really want a burrito because I don't like all the kidney beans and stuff in it. I was like, I'd really love rice in it, just rice. And then he put the rice in it and I was thinking, oh, what's he doing? So me having that thought about I really wanted rice in there. And then he put the rice in there anyway and it had no beans in it. And I loved it and it was delicious. And I just like sharing these things with you because I always say there is no difference between big, small manifestations, whatever. But when you are manifesting things you have no big attachment to, no story, you don't give a damn whether they manifest or not, to be honest, and you see it happen, you're going to be like, wow, I did that. So then you can apply the same efforts, mental efforts, to the things that you do want. But the trouble is, not the trouble, but people put so much, what's the word? They look at the things they want and they see it as impossible. They see it as hard to get, or they feel like they need to do a zillion techniques to get it. You just need to decide on something that works for you, persist in that, because everything you're doing is just to live that experience, but in your mind. You're just, whether you're affirming, in a conversation, scripting, any of those things, it's just to, these techniques that affirming is not really technique, but like when you're doing these things, they're just ways to get you from the state of not having to the state of having internally in your mind. And you'll get out of that state and you shift back into that whenever you can. And eventually you will have shifted back, you would have shifted into that state of having whatever it is that you want, so much so because you are using conscious effort to think as if you've got it, write as if you've got it, imagine you've got it, that eventually your subconscious is like, oh, it's going to have that repetition of you being that you that's already got it. So that's like the story being soaked up and accepted. And as we know, your 3D world is going to give that to you, is going to reflect that back to you. I don't know if that makes sense. You know what? I'll go to bed and I have all these ideas that come up for videos. I need to start getting up and just recording them. Because sometimes I have things in my head and then I'll record that later. I'll record it later and then it doesn't come out the way I was thinking about it, like when I was in bed. But anyway, the point of this video was just to remind you to apply. I know it can be addictive to go and watch loads of manifestation content, go into the Facebook groups, read everyone else's success stories. But sometimes there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes it can make you feel like shit because you feel like you're not doing enough. But you are doing enough. You just need to apply and persist. Apply and persist. Apply and persist. And when you're manifesting like random things like rice in a wrap, you'll be like, wow, I did that. Wow, I did that. And all these little things will be happening. And then you're like, wow, if I can manifest rice in a wrap and free perfume and free Tic Tacs, I can manifest anything. I love it. I love it when these things happen. And I really want you, all of you, to start really realizing and seeing it for yourself. Not that we need any validation from our 3D world, but there's nothing wrong with having the things you want, but it's just amazing. You're amazing and you're all so powerful, and I want you all to live the life that you want to live. If you can imagine it, it already exists. Just think about that for a second on its own. If I can imagine something, it already exists, because if it didn't exist, you wouldn't be able to imagine it. You wouldn't. And why do you have an imagination? This is what I say to clients as well. Why do you think you have an imagination? Why do you think you don't just have an imagination just randomly, you have an imagination. It's there. It's yours. It's like I like to see it as like my very own infinite shopping centre where I go in my imagination, I select a new reality, new experience, new this, new that. And it's exciting. Oh, can't speak. It is exciting. Okay? So anyway, I'm going to end this video now because it's nearly 6 minutes long. Goodbye.